na jivanti vastra kim na svasantyuta na kadanti nimehanti kim grame pasavo pare. Someone else? Na karanti mehanti kim grame pasavo pare. Tadava, the trees, kim, whether, na, do not, jivanti, live, bastra, bellows, kim, whether, na, do not, spasanti, breathe, uta, also, na, do not, kadanti, eat, na, do not, mehanti, discharge semen, kim, whether, grame, in the locality, pasave, pasava, beastly living being, apare, others. Translation: do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Purport: the materialistic man of the modern age will argue that life, or part of it, is never meant for discussion of the theosophical or the theological arguments. Life is meant for maximum duration of existence, for eating, drinking, sexual intercourse, making merry, and enjoying life. The modern man wants to live forever by the advancement of material science, and there are many foolish theories for prolonging life to the maximum duration. But the Srimad Bhagavatam affirms that life is not meant for so-called economic development or advancement of materialistic science, for the hedonistic philosophy of eating, mating, drinking, and merrymaking. Life is solely meant for tapasya, for purifying existence, so that one may enter into eternal life just after the end of the human form of life. The materialists want to prolong life as much as possible because they have no information of the next life. They want to get the maximum comforts in the present life because they think conclusively that there is no life after death. This ignorance about the eternity of the living being and the change of covering in the material world has played havoc in the structure of modern human society. Consequently, there are many problems multiplied by various plans of modernized man. The plans for solving the problems of society have only aggravated the troubles. Even if it is possible to prolong life more than 100 years, advancement of human civilization does not necessarily follow. The Bhagavatam says that certain trees live for hundreds and thousands of years. At Vrindavan there is a tamarind tree, the place is known as Imlitala, which is said to have existed since the time of Lord Krishna. In the Calcutta Botanical Garden there is a banyan tree said to be older than 500 years. And there are many such trees all over the world. Swami Sankaracharya lived only 32 years. And Lord Chaitanya lived 48 years. Does it mean that the prolonged lives of the above-mentioned trees are more important than Sankara or Chaitanya? Prolonged life without spiritual value is not very important. One may doubt that trees have life because they do not breathe. But modern scientists like Bosch have already proved that there is life in plants. So breathing is no sign of actual life. The Bhagavatam says that the bellows of the blacksmith breathes very soundly, but that does not mean that the bellows has life. The materialist will argue that life in the tree and life in the man cannot be compared because the tree cannot enjoy life by eating palatable dishes or by enjoying sexual intercourse. In reply to this, the Bhagavatam asks whether other animals like the dogs and hogs living in the same village with human beings do not eat and enjoy sexual life. The specific utterance of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to other animals means that persons who are simply engaged in planning a better type of animal life, consisting of eating, breathing and mating, are also animals in the shape of human beings. A society of such polished animals cannot benefit suffering humanity, for an animal can easily harm another animal but rarely do good. Tarva kim nadivanti basta kim nas pasanti yuta na karanti nime hante kim grame pasabo pare. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe all around us? Do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? These are very well-known verses, this particular section from the Bhagavatam. Next 5 idvara hashprakaira samstita purusaparu purusha pasu. Men who are like the dogs and the hogs, camels and so on. And these series of verses are very famous amongst the devotee, ISKCON devotee community. And so it's very poetic, actually. Sukadeva Goswami, do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? Here he's pointing out that what should be the focus of life? Should it be just to live a long life, prolong our life, by medicine, by scientific research and discovery? We can go from, I think the average, depending on what research you look at, but and it varies from country to country. They say that the men average in this country live for about 80 years, and the women usually live about 5 years longer, to about 85. That's the average lifespan, and different countries have different lifespans, and different kind of races have different lifespan. They say the Japanese, they live very long, maybe a little bit longer than others. And there's all different reasons given why that's the case. Generally it is said that those who are bigger live shorter. This is one point that is made. The bigger bodies, that can be attributed to one reason why the men live shorter than women, for example. They got smaller bodies. And it's said that not only women's smaller bodies, but those human beings with smaller bodies generally live longer also. Those with bigger bodies live shorter. So you can look to all that. Longer life. Trees live a long life, and Prabhupada actually points this out here, that there are many trees around the world. I remember going many years ago to the big kauri tree up in there in the north of New Zealand. Have you ever been there? Yeah. Very amazing tree. The kauri tree is one of the hardwood type of trees. Do we have kauri trees over here?
Southwest, Western Australia.
Western Australia, okay, yeah, so mainly there. But a huge tree, isn't it? And it's very amazing atmosphere there. It's very still. They give off a certain very powerful presence. And that tree is estimated 1,500 to 2,500 years old. And of course, I've been over to California too, where you've got the redwoods, the big giant redwoods, and that big huge sequoia tree. They got not so far from the LA temple, there's that sequoia forest, but a little bit further north, there's a big huge sequoia tree that's said to be 3,000 years old. And those big gigantic redwoods are 2,000, 1,500, 2,500. So all over the world you get these trees that are thousands and thousands of years. Prabhupada actually says here about the Imli Tal. This is a very famous place in Vrindavan. Probably many of you have been there. Imli Tal, the tamarind tree, famous tamarind tree. And here he says that this tree goes back to the time of Lord Krishna. There's if you've ever been there, it's anyone who does parikrama in Vrindavan generally goes to Imli Tal. And it's a very wonderful place. That the whole Leela is there. That one time during the Purnim Rasa dance, in the Purnim, Sharad Purnim, certain Purnim, that, and all Radha, of course, Krishna has expanded himself in so many forms to dance with all the gopis. Radharani felt a little bit neglected, and so she disappeared from the rasa dance. And then Krishna, feeling separation from Radha, went searching for her. So it is said that he came to this spot, Imlital, and there's the tamarind tree, and he sat under the tamarind tree there, lamenting being separated from Radharani. So he sat there, and actually it is said that when he sat there, he was meditating on Radharani, on her form, her beauty, the love that Radha has for him, and it is said that his complexion turned to her complexion, a golden colour, and even his form slightly changed. And the complexion and like that. So just at that time Radharani appeared. So he was very happy that Radharani appeared. There's a Vipralamba and Sambhoga, separation and meeting again. This is the famous story there at Imlital. And later on it is said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was visiting Vrindavan, and actually, just to go back a little bit, that he told Radharani at that time that just while I was meditating on you in separation and great feelings of love in separation from you, my form and complexion turned golden, and he actually revealed to her, in the future I'll come in a form like this. So more or less he said at that time to Radharani that he would come as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the golden form, in the mood of Radharani, the love that Radha has for Krishna. Later on, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he spent many hours every day there chanting japa under that same tree, and it is said that he went in the mood of Radha to Krishna, and his complexion went from golden to sham complexion, to Krishna's dark complexion. So his complexion went from golden to dark complexion, because he was in the mood of Radha thinking about Krishna. So it was like the reverse. It's a very, very popular place. Srila Prabhupada would often go to this place, to Imlital. He mentions it here, the tamarind tree. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he went there quite. Now the Gaudiya Math had bought the property there and built a very nice Gaudiya Math temple there. That tamarind tree is kind of walled off. There's behind. You can see it behind a yellow wall there. You look through the gates and everything. So there's a very beautiful spot there. There's many, if you haven't been there, you can just, see it online. There's very beautiful pictures of it. And so Srila Prabhupada would go there chanting japa quite often, and Lord Chaitanya did every day while he was in Vrindavan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would spend time there, and it is said that one godbrother, the godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, Krishnadas Babaji, would go there every Ekadasi at sunset. When you go there, all these stories are told. At sunset, and chant japa right through the sunrise, every Ekadasi. They would chant. This is a very famous spot for meditating and especially chanting japa. Lord Chaitanya would do it, the Prabhupada would do it, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would do it, Krishnadas Babaji, there's another one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, there's a samadhi there, his samadhi is in that spot too. Very, very popular spot. I know Radhanath Maharaj takes many yatras there, and he tells this story very wonderfully, of course. And so very, very popular spot. So that tamarind tree, here Prabhupada is saying that this tamarind tree goes back to the time of Lord Krishna, 5,000 years old. So we have those trees in existence today, even they're 3,000 years old, and so that big sequoia tree. They can't know exactly, but they kind of estimate by the rings and everything, got their technique. So these trees, of course, this tree is different from ordinary trees. This is like a kalpabriksha tree, and a very special tree. It's a transcendental tree. Not all trees are necessarily transcendental, but this tree is a transcendental tree. And there's the botanical gardens, there's one there in the Calcutta. So trees are known to live long time, and many trees are old. But is that the standard? Should that be the standard and the focus of our life, to just live a long life? If someone lives to be 80 or 70 or what did I say? In this country, men are supposed to live for about 80. In America it's less. They say it's like 76, but I don't know how they arrive at these calculations. But anyway, but is that supposed to be our focus? And the Prabhupada mentions here, even if they could prolong life, he says prolonged life without spiritual value is not very important. But a lot of energy is put into that, because that this kind of like philosophy of life, the philosophy of life, which Prabhupada actually mentions here, has caused havoc in the structure of human society. When you're in ignorance, you don't know there's another life. So many people are like that. They just think that this life, that's it, and when this life is over, I no longer cease to exist. So therefore, I'm only living once. There's that saying, you only live once. If I'm only going to live once, then I've got to, make the most of it. And they're thinking, because they haven't had any training, they're in ignorance, they're thinking make the most of it means sense gratification, all its different forms here. Eat, drink, be merry, hedonistic kind of, So let us focus like that. And now, because especially in this way, in Kali Yuga, everyone's lower than Kala Sudra Sambhavan, lower than Sudra. So when you get lower and lower, it's mainly the focus is on gratifying the senses of the body, gratifying the eyes. How can we improve our vision and get enjoyment, and the ears and the nose and the tongue and like that. So that's the focus. And being ignorant, they don't know about afterlife. They don't know about the eternality of the soul. Life is solely meant for this, but life is not meant for that. Srimad Bhagavatam affirms that life is not meant for so-called economic development or advancement of materialistic science, for the hedonistic philosophy of eating, mating, drinking and merrymaking. Now everyone's like really kind of sorry, because they've been restricted by this COVID. They can't go out and eat, drink and be merry as they usually would. Especially people like, to go out in big, like big crowds and at sport or parties or at big music events and all this type of thing, and large crowds. And they like that. They get together and so on and so forth. So when that's restricted, they're very sad. And they think this is all in all. But so someone wants to live forever. Okay, we've only got one life, so therefore let us put a lot of energy into prolonging the life. Modern medicine, is able to prevent so many diseases that before would cut life short, and now we've got all this. And maybe with scientific advancement, I remember reading an article some time ago. They're developing the DNA and so on and so forth to replicate bodily parts and bodily organs, like spare parts, just like a car, you've got the spare parts, like you say, if you have a car and then you've got another one over there, that's for spare parts. Sometimes people do that. They buy like a car and they buy a spare one just for spare parts, and especially if that one is a kind of a rare car. This quite often happens. You've got a rare car, a classic car or something like that. Not many of them around. So therefore, if they've got the opportunity, they'll buy that car, and they'll buy, if they can find another one, they'll buy that car as well. And so therefore, when something goes wrong with the original purchase, they can have the spare parts. So now they're trying to develop it for the human body, spare parts. They try to grow livers and kidneys and hearts and who knows what else. And they're trying to work on limbs. If you lose a limb, they grow one and they just attach it and put it right back on, and then you can just live forever. Live forever. So this all sorts of ideas are like that. And so they're thinking this will advance society, be so much better in the future because we're developing in these areas. But Prabhupada actually goes in the opposite. He says this creates a havoc. It's created havoc because it's just an illusion. Even if you could prolong it, I mean, how long can you prolong it? And what really your life in the world, how much enjoyment is there? You have to kind of analyze all these things very, very carefully. So eating, hedonistic, eating, drink, you can become an Epicurean, you know, like a fine connoisseur of eating. You become like you like to go around and tasting and eating many things. You know, they have their caviar, caviar. Invited over to have some caviar. But what is caviar? Ajit can tell us very well. It's like a French thing. Right? What is it? Stool, basically. So that's a connoisseur. See, that's considered, like cultured. You know, if you're invited to a function and there's champagne and caviar over there. Oh, that's a very cultured event because you get caviar. But what is caviar? Fish eggs or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. And you go and it's like, every now and again you go in the supermarket and, I remember one time, long time ago, I parked past the shelf and then it had like a tongue. There was a tongue in a can. I forget what tongue it was. It was like you could buy a can of tongue. And it was very expensive because it's tongue, it's some sort of a tongue of some rare animal or something. I don't know what it was. No, it wouldn't have been rare. It was in the supermarket. But but what people are eating? They're eating tongues. They're eating brains. They're eating all sorts of things. So they think that by developing all these fine foods, and this is enjoyment when you can. And some people, there was that famous personality, Vivekananda, who he said that, and Prabhupada actually called him on it. He said that, what is the use of watering tulsi? Better to water the eggplant. So, you water tulsi. Well, what do you get? Branches and leaves. But if you water an eggplant, that grows to be a big eggplant. At least you can eat the eggplant. So Prabhupada actually says like that. So people are very materialistic. For them, spiritual life. There's one description in the Bhagavatam. It's like a spot on the horizon. A spot on the horizon. You don't even know it's there. That's how much inclination they got towards spiritual life. And this will be explained further as we go through this section of the Bhagavatam. The people who are involved in these types of activities, they get so absorbed in them. But there's no different. What's different about that to what other animals are already doing? And this very much comes up tomorrow. We think we're so advanced, more so than the trees and we're superior. We're superior than a tree. Although a tree lives long, but still our life is superior. As far as breathing, the trees don't breathe, so we breathe. So our life is superior. And there are some who, even in religion, they, in the Christian community, I know that some say that the humans have a human soul, and the animals have an animal soul. Even, some of them don't even accept that other species of life have souls at all. They just say that only the humans have souls. Only the humans have souls. But others say, well, all right, we have soul, and the animals, we can see there's life there, but they've got the animal soul. And the animal soul is inferior, the human soul is superior. But that's not, I don't know how they arrive at that, or whether that's in the Bible somewhere stated, but we know in Bhagavad Gita the soul is a living entity and all equal as far as souls. There's no animal and human, this is just external body. And so only the human souls go to heaven. There's other souls in the dog body or whatever, they don't go to the heaven. Only the human souls go to heaven. Souls have the opportunity to elevate because all are souls. There's no distinction, we know, from Bhagavad Gita that there's no distinction between the human and that's just external. The soul is internal. So this because of ignorance, they don't understand even these basic things, and therefore they concentrate on the materialistic aspect of life, and it's just created havoc because a rare opportunity is missed to develop spiritually. And so life is solely meant for tapasya. So here Prabhupada says actually it should be the other way around. Instead of just indulging unrestrictedly and concentrating on that and how to improve that, it should be the other way around. It should be, no, actually you should refrain. You should refrain. You control yourself more. Just engage in activities just as need be, and your other energy, the remainder of your energy should go into spiritual development. So this is the main point here. Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? Do the beast not eat and discharge steam? So why concentrate on that? And here Prabhupada gives the example, of course, of even if you could live a long life, but it's not about how long you live, but how you live your life. This is really the point that's made here. How long do you live? Okay, someone lived for 80, 90, someone reached 100, but what did they do? What do they do with their life? But here Prabhupada says here, look at Sankaracharya. Although Sankaracharya promoted the impersonal concept, still he promoted transcendence. And he only lived for 32 years. You can read about Sankaracharya. He was appeared in Kerala, and he travelled, and of course he was the incarnation of Lord Shiva, but he just mastered everything and taught and very powerfully. And in that short span of time, 32 years, he went up to Kedarnath, and he went into a cave, and he didn't come back out. No one could find him again, so the story goes. So he only lived for 32 years, but what did he achieve in his life? As far as himself, now there's two things. What did you achieve in your life, and how did you help, and how did you affect others? So, you look at Sankaracharya, you look at the Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya only lived for 48 years. 48 years. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was 62. 62. But what did he do? What did he do with his life? So if you can live a long life and be very advanced spiritually and help the world spiritually, that's something. This is the point made here in Bhagavatam. That's something. But, if you're just going to live a long life, even if you achieve many things materially, what's the use of it all? Like sand castles. Right? Sometimes the children will go down the beach and make a sand castle. And it looks nice, but then the next wave comes in, boom, boom, it's gone. So from the viewpoint of eternity, like a long period, don't live for sand castles. Make something of your life for yourself, and if possible, try to help others. So this is real value in life. So Prabhupada says here that are the trees with long life more important than Sankara or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? As prolonged life without spiritual value is not very important. So Prabhupada doesn't place much importance on it. Long life. Yeah, so. Oh, here, 100 years, yeah. Well, what did he do with his life? Even if he only lived 20 years, but he did something incredible. Who's going to, even on the material level, the achievements of someone are going to be remembered more than how long they lived. Right? The achievement. Then someone only lived 20 years. In 20 years they did this, or in 30 years they did that. Someone was only 15, but So what you do with your life is the important thing, and what you do with your life shouldn't just be expansion of materialistic activities that already, we see the animals already doing it. So don't just be animalistic or polished animals. Prabhupada uses this term here. a polished animal. Animals eat, animals sleep, animals fight, animals mate. So if we're doing the same thing, maybe in a more polished. So a society of polished animals cannot benefit suffering humanity, because humanity is suffering due to lack of spirituality. That is explained here in the Bhagavatam. Lack of spirituality, true spirituality. That is the lacking. That's why they're suffering. So if you're just trying to improve the animal side and the material side, how are you going to help humanity? But on the other side, he says here, for an animal can easily harm another animal, but rarely do good. So animals, we find in the lower species of life, there's a lot of fighting, attacking, just to survive. Another animal will just jump on another one and kill it and eat it alive. You get like that, right? You've all seen those documentaries that where the animal can kill the other animal, and while it's still alive, they're just eating it. And I saw a bird one time here, just, what was it? It was some sort of little mouse or something like that. And sometimes you see this with cats also, they drag him from, they'll just, while it's still alive, they'll just start eating its face. So it's a tough world out there. Kill or be killed. That sort of kind of thing. Kill or be killed. So there's no choice. Either you kill or that one's going to kill you. And they've got a split-second decision, right? So that's the reality of the situation. But if one focuses in on the spiritual development, then that's an achievement. This is the point that's made here in this verse. Possible put it. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? All right, does anyone have any question or comment?
There's a Ayurvedic documentary called The Art of Being, and in this documentary they show basically like health practitioners in India, old people from generations, and they use minerals, precious stones, and special herbs that are collected in forests to keep up their health, and they can cure anything, anyone basically, cancer, anything, and they live a long time. And they interview those people, and people living there, and they interview this old man, he's like 103, so he's walking along and they tell him, so is it good to live a long life? And this guy goes, and he goes, he said, can you live another 20, 30 years? He goes on and on and on. He said, he's talking about Krishna. He said, Krishna should take me back. He said, why? He said, I've had enough. And again. And they all say,
get tired of it.
Yeah, it's boring after a while.
Yeah, right.
Because you do the same thing. Because of course, even those guys that are considered very healthy and very knowledgeable, they live a good life. They don't just run around like they're mischievous.
Yeah.
They get really bored with it. And then they say, after I had enough, I just want to go. And it's not partly good to have spiritual life, but they say, it just gets boring after a while.
Right, yeah.
So even if you live a long life, you're just going to do the same old thing for 100 years, and after you're finished.
Well, a lot of the older generation, they talk about just being so lonely because they lose all their friends. Like one after the other. And there's only themselves left. It's like life is about relationships and friendships and that. So then as you get older and older, then so many just disappear, and so there's a loneliness and as you said, even a boredom, same old things over and over again. So what's the purpose? What's the whole goal of it, or what should But if you have your spirituality, then you can just, with spirituality, you just make friends with everyone, because everyone's a spirit soul. Because as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that generally, as one goes on in devotion, one will have closer relationships in spiritual life with some, and not so close with others. So that's natural. That's natural. But then again, just like when we travel, we can travel all over the world to the different temples, and whichever devotees are there. We just make, sometimes the senior devotees, say to me that, I say, well, you travel around, visit the temples, and maybe give the class. And I don't know anyone there. They say it like that. I don't know anyone there. And I'm saying, well, who's to know? They're all devotees. You go there, you chant, you give a class, say Haribol, and have a talk, and talk about Krishna. Because you can make friends easily with devotees because they're just the same type of topic, spiritual life. So as far as, of course, it's understandable in one sense. You're old friends as devotees, but they're never, like we as sannyasi, we travel around everywhere, so we're quite used to that. Not personally knowing anyone. That's been my whole life. I go somewhere, I don't even know who you are. But everyone comes up, says Haribol, you say Haribol back. And you have a pleasant conversation. And it's wonderful, and you keep traveling around and meeting devotees like that. So, if you don't know anyone, well, get to know someone. Don't have that as an excuse for not going to different places. That's the main point I'm trying to make there. Yes?
So where do we draw the line in terms of if we're maintaining our body to do service, essentially?
Sorry, start again.
So where do we draw the line? Because if we're maintaining our body to be able to do service, like maintaining our body for Krishna, and what you were saying about, with science, chopping bits up or creating spare parts for people and things like that, is it just like we draw the line once once we can no longer capable of service?
Well,
once we're no longer capable of service. I mean, obviously some things are good to sort of, so that we're more capable, like if you need an eye operation or, some kind of operation. But as far as keeping on prolonging the body, just...
as far as that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean to say, if your intention is prolonging life so you can do more devotional service, you like to finish off, some projects or something like that. But the devotee always leaves it in the hands of Krishna. If Krishna so desires, just like when Prabhupada, I remember when Prabhupada was sick, not the first time, but the second time in 74, we had that prayer. Dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, remember that? If you, I think it was 74. If you so desire, our spiritual master has not finished his mission, please allow him to stay here. So I can't remember the exact words, but it was like that. So the main thing is that whatever Krishna desires. And you may have your desire to do devotional service, maybe prolong your life a little bit, but do it. But by doing that, if you find your devotional service going down, then that's over endeavour. If by doing that your devotional service is going up, that's good. So you can judge very simply like that. You can take the advice of others as well, and your guru and everything like that. But very simple formula is that if whatever you're doing, whatever you're endeavouring to do, if you find that your devotional service is going down by that means it's not so good. But if your devotional service is going up, it's very, very good. So that's a simple formula here. One final.
Just a little comment to that, Maharaj. Thank you very much for the class. Krishna's given this body to take care of. It's the temple. Krishna's there in the heart. So we shouldn't be extreme and not take care of that body. So when we're ill, we take medicine, just like Sri Prabhupada was ill, he would take medicine. So we need to keep the body fit and healthy in order to to our service.
Right. But I think that the point was that how far should we take it? Right? It depends on your Krishna consciousness. If you're keeping the body, that's your duty to do that. Fit and healthy, but in the older age, for example, as you're getting older, how much energy should you put into that? That you take advice on, and that you see, and as far as your own development of Krishna consciousness, whether putting energy into that is actually going to decrease your Krishna consciousness. So there's certain formulas you can follow. Just quickly.
Just on that, some years ago, I was having a lot of serious health issues, and every time I go down and cost me medicine, surgery, or transplants, all sorts of things. So I approached Prahlad Maharaj one day. I said to him, and I was quite unwell. I said, Maharaj, I don't know what to do. That every time I'm about to go down, they just keep patching me up. He goes, I said, how long do I keep it up? And I asked him, he gave me a very simple answer. He said, as long as you can chant Hare Krishna, keep going.
Very good. Great answer. Well, we'll leave it there. Jai Ho Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.